This is Coffee and Donuts. We are going to go over some questions that I had pre-submitted as well, and I'm going to kind of deep dive into some of these. These are common misconceptions we see all the time. But outside of that, I'm going to open it up afterwards for everyone here live. So if you want to ask a question, the way it works is you can either raise your hand or you can type it in the chat and I will answer it. If you want to ask me a question privately, in the chat, just select myself directly, send a direct message to me, and I will answer it in full detail. I'll just leave out who was the asking party. So let's dive in. There we go. Dive into what we got going on today. That's not what I'm looking for. 1 second. There we go. All right. First question. This one is, I'm not seeing why it's a big deal to withdraw from the process. I've done it several times before, the oral board, because either I found out something I didn't like or I couldn't miss work. Imagine what that says to a department when I say, hey, John, I see that you've applied for a significant amount of other departments. What's your status with them? And you say, oh, I'm no longer currently in the process. Okay, well, what's your status? Were you removed? Did you fail something? What was the deal? Oh no, I withdrew from a majority of them. Okay, well, why did you withdraw from this department? Oh, I just found something I didn't like. Okay, well, why'd you withdraw from this department? Oh, I couldn't miss work. Well, then we're running into the situation here where I start wondering, is this something you're committed to? Right? The hiring process is going to cost me $10,000 to $30,000 roughly to put you through it. Just the hiring process. It's estimated that it's about $210,000 from the point of hiring process to the point where you're finally released on your own to go out and patrol. I'm talking through FTO, through the academy. That's what it costs me to get an officer squared away out on patrol, right? Like I said, 10 to 30,000 of that's wrapped up just in the hiring process alone. Why would I want to waste my time on someone who's continuously withdrawing from departments because one, he or she either didn't do enough research and decide this wasn't the right department for them, or two, they decided, hey, my current job is more important than the career that I'm pursuing. Because if you're working in one spot and you're pursuing either a career change, maybe you have a career over here, but maybe it's just a job, whatever. If it's a job, why are you not prioritizing your career? If it's a career and you want to make a career transition, once again, why are you not prioritizing your career transition just because you couldn't get off work, right? I'm not telling anyone that they have to leave, be AWOL, absent without leave, but if you tell your employer, hey, I apologize, I have a mandatory appointment this day that I can't miss. That's what it is. I mean, the worst they can do is dock your pay or not pay you for that day. Now, I don't know everyone's financial situations, but I will tell you this, it's not going to matter. As an evaluating individual, myself or the department would look at this and say, okay, this individual's not committed. On top of that, if you do withdraw from a department and you ever want to apply to them later on and it's not as a lateral, so let's say I have a department over here and I withdraw because I can't get off work for their oral board. And then I have B and C department over here, but then I decide, you know what? B and C aren't for me. I'm going to go reapply to A. I'm going to go back there and they're going to say, why would I put you through the process? You've already withdrew from us one time. I don't have time or money to waste on you. Because trust me, departments, their budget is tight. They don't want to waste any extra money that they don't have to. So keep that in mind. This is a big one when it comes to individuals, big misconception. And that's one reason why I don't, or those are a few reasons why I don't recommend withdrawing. Make sure you do a department audit and pick the correct departments first. That's what I would say. All right, next question. If I were to get disqualified, how long do you suggest I wait to reapply to the same agency? I wouldn't reapply to the same agency. If this is your dream department and the only department you ever want to work for, yeah, I mean, I guess you can. And we've had it. We've had members do it and we've helped them and they've been successful. But what I would do here is I would identify, 2 or 3 more other departments that I'm interested in. I would apply to them. And then if this was my dream department, I would lateral later on. And the reason why is because there's already a negative connotation with you, right? Your name's already good. They're going to have a file on you, whether that's digital or paper, doesn't matter. But they're going to see that you applied before, and they're going to see you got disqualified for something before. So unless it's something, where you're just outside the minimal limitations, and what I mean by that is, let's say marijuana use. Let's say this department has a 3-year marijuana use policy. That's pretty extreme these days, but we'll go with that. And you're at 2.5 years, and they say, hey, you're disqualified due to you don't meet our substance use policy. You're eligible to reapply in a year. Well, at that point in time, then yeah, you could reapply and it would be okay, but you still have that disqualification under your belt, and they're still going to recall you being disqualified in the past. So I wouldn't. I would reapply to a different department, and then at that point in time, I would decide, hey, is this the department that I really want to work at? And I make this statement, here pretty commonly. Once again, I'm going to just pick a fairly large department. I'm going to say the LAPD. Do you want to be an LAPD officer, or do you want to be a law enforcement officer? Is it just your dream to, and once again, I'm just using LAPD as a placeholder here, but is it your dream to work with the LAPD, or is it your dream to be a law enforcement officer out there serving your community? Right? Because at the end of the day, you could work for LAPD, but then decide, after 10 years, I want to go work for a more suburban department, right? Less urban, more suburban area. And that might be your career path, or maybe you want to get into training and you want to go become a training instructor with another department. At the end of the day, you said, oh, LAPD is the only department for me. But at the end of the day, you have no idea where your career could potentially grow to. So that's why I make it clear when I say do a department audit to identify 3 departments. So yeah, that's a tough one too. But at the end of the day, I just would not reapply to the same agency unless you said, hey, there's no other department I ever want to work for in my entire life. Which, if that's the case, I'd say do some self-reflection for the career in general too. Because if this department, say, were to not move forward with you, does that mean you never want to be a law enforcement officer? Where's your conviction at? Okay. Next one. I heard they don't check red light cameras because they can't prove who was driving. Wow. Okay. Uh, yes and no, right? Yes and no. And no, that's just false. No, if it's attached to a registered vehicle you own, you better be listening, even if it was your spouse, right? Let's say my wife gets a red light camera ticket and she's driving my primary vehicle that I'm the primary owner on, or primary registered owner on. And I don't disclose it. It's so much easier to say, yes, hey, we received a violation notice for, a red light camera or a speed camera trap on this date. I wasn't the operator at that point in time, but it was my vehicle. My wife was operating the vehicle. That's easy to explain. Failure to disclose it looks like this. Hey, I see that one of your vehicles received a camera ticket, approximately 2 years ago that you didn't disclose. Oh yeah, it was my wife. She was driving. And yeah, I just figured it because it wasn't me. I didn't have to list it. Okay, can I see your wife's phone number? And I pick up the phone right then and there, and I call your wife and I say, hey, this is, officer or detective or sergeant with XYZ police department. I'm conducting a background on your husband for the position of a police officer. One thing I'm reviewing right now is this camera ticket. Can you tell me who was the operator of this vehicle on this date? If my wife were to say, "Oh, I don't recall," or I say, "Could it have been you or your husband?" Like, yeah, it was probably one of us. I can't remember which one of us got that one. It could have been my husband or it could have been me. If she were to say anything along those lines, that could be used against me for failure to disclose and for omission, right? Because if she's not sitting here saying, "Oh, that was 100% me. That wasn't my husband. Yes, I know for a fact that was me." then anything else besides that is going to hurt. Right. And it still looks bad when it's just so much easier to disclose and be upfront about. Yes, one of our registered vehicles did receive a camera ticket. It was at this point in time we decided to just pay it based on my knowledge and my memory. My wife was operating the motor vehicle at that time. Right. And then you can talk to your wife or you could talk to your spouse or whoever else, was operating the vehicle. Say, hey, I'm applying for this. I'm getting ready to put down this camera ticket. Do you recall this occurring? And then hopefully they say yes or no. I mean, if they're disputing it, you better figure it out real quick before you submit that packet, because if they're disputing and say, no, I think that one was you, it might just be best to say, hey, I don't recall, this one potentially could have been me. And, and my spouse doesn't recall. They were saying that they couldn't remember if it was mine or theirs for this one. Just eat that and just say, hey, yeah, this could have potentially been me or my spouse. That's how I would attach that. But the worst thing you can do is leave it off. The absolute worst thing you can do is leave it off, and then it come back to bite you, and you're wind up in a conundrum at that point in time. So, hey, before I let you go, I did want to ask real quick, if you enjoy this, know that we go in and we answer all the questions on YouTube. And then if you have any enjoyment from the podcast, from the audio podcast, no matter where you're watching it, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of the other platforms, please leave us a review and like and share it. That's how we get out there, and then that shows me that this is the content that you all want to see, and then it's actually being beneficial. So if you have a comment and you want to ask a quick question, you can ask it over on YouTube. We try to answer all of them for as long as we can, as well as any of the extra gifts that we have for you. But additionally, you can go on to our website. It's Armogan CT, so ARMOGANCT.com. And up there we have live free trainings that we do as well occasionally. And you can keep checking there and see if that's something that you want to jump onto. I hope this all helps you. As I said before, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.